First of all, I'm a real environmentalist. I go back 40 years worrying about, being concerned about the fate of the earth. So one thing I say tonight, which is somewhat skeptical about some climate change claims, in no way indicates that I'm not concerned. There are many, many problems we're facing, environmental, social, and otherwise. The other thing that 40 years I mentioned gives me a certain advantage over some people. Now, there's some people, I may be the oldest person here. You and I may be in the same ballpark. But, you know, as I get older, I found that there are more and more young people around, which is kind of shocking. I don't know what to make of it. But it does give you perspective. And I've been through a lot of end-of-the-world scenarios put forth by environmentalists. And the one I remember most is the late 60s, the population bomb by Paul Ehrlich, which predicted that in the coming decade, in the 70s, there would be hundreds of millions of people dying of starvation. Well, it didn't happen. The Club of Rome report made very, very grim predictions. Then there have been a number of these. You know what I'm talking about, the kind of the ecological crisis du jour. Now, the proclamation of these terrible crises have had a certain good effect in that it has brought to people's attention the fact that we have got to do a better job of living on this planet, because the planet, we depend upon the biosphere for our very lives, and a lot of other life forms depend upon it too. And so we have got to find ways to live on this planet that allow for our well-being as well as that of other life forms. So that's been a good effect. Environmentalism, if I look back 40 years ago, late 60s, people were only beginning to think about these things. There was terrible industrial pollution, no thought given really to the fate of species. I could go on and on. So things have really improved a lot. I think that's something we should keep in mind. There have been many, many dramatic improvements in environmental protection, environmental well-being, to some extent primarily in the developed world, but even in less developed countries, more and more people are aware that they have to handle the planet with much more care than we have in the past. So there's been a lot of good things happening. I think we should affirm that. The downside is that there has been sometimes too much alarmism about what's going on, and predictions of doom which haven't come true. And as a result, people have grown skeptical, many people, about what environmentalists say. And I think this is something that I fear is going on with regard to global climate change. I think environmentalists should be much more cautious about proclaiming the absolute truth of concurrent views, scientific views about what's driving global warming. If it turns out that the current view is significantly flawed or even false, as could happen, I'm following this. I mean, I read this stuff. That would be a catastrophe for environmentalism. I can just hear Rush Limbaugh. Okay, you with me on this? So environmentalists should definitely push for all kinds of things, including alternatives to fossil fuels, because we're going to run out of them if for no other reason. And because coal especially is a really nasty, dirty substance, which is great for what it does, but not great for the consequences it puts forth, independent of carbon dioxide. So I just urge environmentalists to be more cautious in terms of their supposition that current scientific claims about CO2 driving climate change, this is a very dangerous move. Now, what thing it reminds me of is what happened in the Middle Ages when the Catholic Church decided that science was Aristotle. This came through St. Thomas Aquinas. And for hundreds of years in Europe, what Aristotle said, as affirmed by St. Thomas Aquinas, was regarded as scientific truth. And the church wedded its theological future to the fate of Aristotelian science. And so when this was being overturned in the 16th and 17th, 18th centuries by people like Copernicus and later, of course, to a large extent, Darwin in many ways, this was a very, very difficult and bitter pill for the Catholic Church to swallow. And there's something of an analogy here. Environmentalists have hooked their wagon currently to humans are causing global warming, as if this were theological doctrine. It's a scientific hypothesis. It has not been demonstrated. What we're relying on are modeling. The evidence is not there because we aren't 50 years or 100 years from now. So we're relying for our concern about what's going to happen upon computer modeling, which is inherently incapable of making predictions with regard to the behavior of chaotic systems. The climate is not merely complex, it's chaotic. It cannot be modeled in the way they want to model it. And this is what we're up against, the inability to make seriously reliable predictions about the future.